just a friendly disclaimer. We're not a medical advice. We do not subscribe to medical advice. We are sharing information to enhance your life, to enhance your mental health. And again, this is just a friendly disclaimer. Anything concerning our videos is not intended for a medical professional. It does not replace any medical professional advice. Please seek your medical professional team for anything concerning your mental health, physical health. Again, we are here for you.
Okay, cool. So she already said I can let her in. So this is Miss Yelena. Awesome lady.
Yeah.
I'm glad I had a chance to have a conversation with her, not to take over the show what we're talking about, but I wanted to highlight her because she's has awesome energy. I can't wait to work with her in the future. I'm not going to say what we're going to do with her in the future, but great things are coming soon. So she's a wonderful person to have on. This is Miss Yelena, everybody. Hey, Miss Yelena.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, Yelena.
What's going on? I'm glad you stopped by. You said you would.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome to Just Stop It. Oh, I'm your producer, host tonight, the Grand Queen, aka the Professor, aka Mother Williams, whatever you want to call me. Again, welcome to the Just Stop It show. We've got a good one for you tonight, as usual, but it's not as usual. Tonight we are talking about something that is just it's local, it's global, it's all around. Sometimes we may not even know what it is. Sometimes we may not even know it's there. We're gonna get into that in a minute. We're gonna talk about what happens in the invisible as well as what happens right in front of you. And we're about getting to things before a crisis happens. Tonight we're gonna talk about such things. Before we get to it, get with it, we just want to share a friendly reminder with you. This information or video is not intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained in our videos and recordings is for general information purposes only and cannot and will not replace any consultation with your own doctor or medical professional. Please seek medical advice. Our information is general. Hopefully it will also enhance and engage your mental health journey. And we've got the hot spot of the show, our very own Shannon Grace Chappelle, the opulent one in the house tonight.
Hello, how are you?
We are good. I'm good. And you, Shannon?
I'm good.
Absolutely glad to see you.
Glad to see you
We've
too.
got good to be seen, as I always say.
Yes.
Hey, thank you so
Yes.
much.
You're welcome.
We've got our media producer, our very own Trayvon Gray in the house. Trey Wiz.
Hey everybody, what's up?
Hey Trey.
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm good. What's up with y'all?
Listen.
Little smiles on y'all faces. It was enough, whatever it was. At least y'all smiling.
Boy.
That's cool.
You wanted you know, I'm like Shannon, church finger. We'll be here a while.
That's all right though. That's all right, but y'all smiling. That's good for me.
Travel.
That's good enough for me.
Travels. Oh my God, for sure. Listen, we're
Yes.
glad to be here tonight, and for everybody
Yes.
who's passing through tonight. This is May, the month of May. We made it. Yay. We made it
That
to a
part.
Yay.
brand new month. Exactly. April showers brings May flowers and more and more mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it ain't the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's under the flowers. You know, it take a lot for the flower to grow. Sometimes it get a little buggy and
Yeah.
a little weedy and a whole bunch of other
Mm.
stuff, and you got to
That's
de-weed and
maintenance.
debug it.
That's self
Maintenance.
care. That's maintenance
Oh
right
Yeah.
there.
yeah, oh
That's
yeah,
all that
oh
Yes.
is.
yeah. Absolutely. So sometimes we need a little self care or a whole lot of self care, and those
Mm.
things take time. And
Yes.
again, we are here for you, for those who are listening and passing through tonight. Just stop it. We just want to be, we are advocating with as many that would hear and that want to be on the move in this and join the movement to help our officials, legislatures, our leaders to just stop the nonsense. Bring more
Mm-hmm.
awareness to the things that makes our life better. Bring more awareness to how to help us increase the livability index in
Hmm.
each and every one of the states in
Mm-hmm.
America, globally, all over the world. So tonight we're talking about the crisis. We're talking about crisis hotline and resources. There are so many different crises that happens in our life. I mean, where does it start? We've often talked about like where does it start?
At
It
home
could start at home, yeah,
and in the
at
streets.
home, in
Yeah, at home and in the
the
streets. School.
streets between the two.
Hmm.
And the great part, because when it transfers from the street to home and from home to school, school to the
Mm-hmm.
office, office to the workplace, anywhere, it's there, and it
It's a
starts to
trickling
just
effect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
exactly, and it starts to build, and it starts to get bigger than what the person could even ever imagine, what the family could ever imagine. And we are about individuals, and we are also about families, how to help you
Mm-hmm.
to get to it, get with it before the crisis happens. Now, in the event it does, tonight. Tonight is what we have to share with you. In the event it does, we want to share some stuff such as a mobile crisis team. Actually, we want to talk about the crisis hotline before we even get past going a mobile crisis team. And what
Mm-hmm.
is a crisis? And what is the purpose of the crisis hotline?
Yes.
Now, so first of all, a crisis. What's a crisis to any of us? Some folks take it
The
just like
breaking
it's a
point,
normal
really.
life.
It's the
Say it
breaking
again,
point.
Trey.
I said it's
It's
the
the
breaking
breaking
point.
point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the breaking point. It's the egg. It's like the Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. He had a great fall. All the king's men, they couldn't put him back together again. First of
Together
all, it's
again.
an egg. Can you ever put an egg back together?
Yeah.
It's impossible. So this is how frail some of us really are. Some of the situations make us feel like in our
Hmm.
lives, like we're just like so fragile. So when things begin to happen, that crisis, that thing starts in the mind, and it starts to develop and fester like a sore. and
Hmm.
and it could start from something simple as, and I can't say simple because a crisis is not simple.
Mm-hmm.
Mental, something that happens and traumatizes you, because a crisis, trauma comes into a crisis. Trauma plays in its
Indeed, it
part in a
does.
trauma. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're traumatized, you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can't even voice it. Maybe you can't even speak about it. Maybe you feel maybe there's no support or a safe space for you to speak about. So here, family, for those of you who are listening, this is a safe space. Please pass through. Share your stories. After hearing tonight about what a crisis is and the crisis hotline, I know that you guys are going to be on speed dial sharing some information, actually tipping over we're going to have some messages that's going to go viral on the internet after tonight,
Mm-hmm.
because of the plethora of information that you guys are going to share and the stories that I know that you have to share to help us to get through it and get to it and get with it. So yeah, so the crisis, and what you say again, Trey, I like that. I like that.
It's the
That's
it's the
simple.
breaking point,
It's
and
the breaking point.
I think that
It
opens up
is.
the fact that we need to start building resources in our different areas. I know I'm a Maryland resident, so everyone that's watching won't be from Maryland, but start building up resources in your area. Whatever we need to do to start talking to people and getting them to join in and actually share what they know about the area. Even when you had the earthquake in New York, that's why I asked you on a live. I really want to know, which is why I asked. I asked what resources were available. What things that they put in place for food shortages or whatever may have come out of the earthquake. I want to know about. I want us to start banding with people to be able to provide resources, because everyone that comes across our platform, we're hoping and wishing. I feel like that you won't be at that breaking point, because this show is supposed to be the safety net before you get to a certain point. We're supposed to catch you before the fall. The crisis is when you already fell. So we're trying to catch you before that point. But I just want us to start banding together to and talking to people, having discussions. I got a place up the street that I mentioned to you that I want to start talking about, what's available in my area, so I can start to facilitate that and bring that forward, because we need those resources. Everyone that watches us will not be at that point before the fall. They may have already failed and stumbled across us later. So
So with stumbling and you get a gold nugget like this, the process, it can help start you to a better, to the next step. Yes, you're falling, but it can help you get to the next step. And we want to always make sure, we would love to just help you get to the next step in the event. So here in New York, we do, that. Bringing back to mind, thank you, Trey, because I was still like reeling from that one, the earthquake.
That's
and because to tell you the truth, we don't have in New York.
Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate it.
Hey, Wayne, thank you, King
Wayne
there.
Wayne has said, shout out to Trey Wiz and the Just Stop It family. Keep up the fantastic work on the for the people. Yeah, we're talking about.
Thank you, Wayne.
Let's include Wayne on the conversation since he just joined us. We are talking about providing resources for our different areas as a collective, but starting to build up and round up information. Because we want to be a place of resources. We don't want to just be here for you to listen to us talk or speak on things, but we do actually want to provide resources, because I was just acknowledging that everyone won't be. Some people may have already fell when they come across this platform.
Exactly.
We're talking about a crisis and what it means to be in a crisis. So some people might already have, lost their way.
Point.
And
they might be at that point.
Exactly. So regardless of our intention being to catch people before that point, we have to realize some people you got some that don't even identify what their situation or problem is, and you have some that already, hit rock bottom pretty much. So just like the place, I'm gonna call you Taz instead, Wayne or whatever, but the resource place that's in the shopping center, that's off of the bus stop that we get off from, over there by the subway. Since I ain't giving out details, it don't matter what my description of it is, but he knows what I'm talking about. Over there, Wayne, is the place that I want to start talking to the lady that runs it, because I noticed they do like family Mother's Day stuff on the wall. They have food resources, like food pantries, food drives and stuff. But that's what we're talking about, really. The crisis is like, what can we do about it? What resources can we bring in? And so if you have a resource or somebody, Wayne, while you in here, you're free to comment as well. And let me know something. We could talk about it.
Absolutely, because this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and just want to pop a little thought with you as well, from Mark chapter 6:13. Right and left, they sent the demons packing. They brought wellness to the sick, anointing their bodies, healing their spirits. This is for all the Sunday folks. Sunday go to meeting, folks. And if you didn't go to the meeting, it's still all right. We're talking about, the healing in the mind and the heart, and how and where healing starts. It starts when things start to pack up. The demons represent the standards and the procedures and the belief system that the world has, and how some people acclimate to it, how some people live by some of those standards, and some of it is not good. Some of it is not promising and good for nothing. And we're talking about change, being able to understand your wellness journey. Things happen, trauma. That's a part of being sick. It can affect your spirit. It can affect your body. physically. And we are here to help you to change the mindset. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. So the crisis hotline, and as Trey Wiz said, we need those resources, and we need folks to really come through and join us in this movement, because we're bringing awareness to these things. Oh yes, Big Sister Margaret.
Yes, I couldn't read what
she said that she said Margaret G just watching. I'm sorry, just waiting for you. Fantastic guys, great show.
All right,
I love that. I love the love. Yeah. So what we're talking about, Granny,
yes, Big Sister.
Oh, were you gonna say something, Mommy? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, the thing about that, you mentioned two things that really stick out with you know, going through this journey, is that you first have to realize, and I've said it 10,000 times, I'll say it again.
Go ahead.
You have to realize that there is a problem, and you have to realize that whatever that problem is and how you're functioning is not at a functioning level. And I think I think people carry on a certain way, and don't even realize anything really is going on, because they're so used to, let's just say, self-medicating, or they're used to whatever their addiction or their sin is, or whatever, however they pacify that feeling that they didn't want to feel.
And you know,
we all know, let's say, like alcohol, substance abuse, that type of thing. We all know that that is a temporary good feeling, and then that goes away, and then you chase it again,
right?
You know, to try to feel better.
Yeah.
So as soon as we can start learning how to identify that, then we can move into the resource portion. And I can tell you this about resources. Sometimes we think that they're few and far between.
Thank you to everybody joining.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Few and far between. But a lot of times that really isn't the case. It doesn't necessarily have to be resources that are coming from the state. There are other organizations, or organizations and groups that collectively they got together to provide a couple things. And I see that, I'm in the state of Virginia, you're in the state of Maryland, I'm in Northern Virginia, so it's DC. DC will probably have a little bit more. But I think it's very important to really get that networking together.
Yeah.
And start talking to people, because there's a lot of things, truth be told, there's a lot of things that are available, right, that aren't put out to the general public.
Right.
You already have to be in the loop somewhere else to be able to only gain these resources.
And one thing too, though, that I see and notice is that people don't actually look these things up either. Because as much as I see people talk about that, as how they feel, and them being, a lot of people sit in it, and it I think because of the pain of discovering or bringing some self-truths alive that you probably don't want to face. I think a lot of that comes from people not seeking out the help, knowing what's going on, knowing how they feel, and they're able to identify it, but them not actually going forward to try to seek something out.
I think so. Sometimes. Sometimes, like I said, I have known, and I know for myself with certain things, I've done it for so long that until someone else pointed it out, in particular medical, a healthcare professional, and said, no, that's not a normal thing to do, to function in that way. So you had mentioned something about seeking out resources. Let me just touch on that. Those resources, and I am so serious when I say that, I did not know that they were available until I was in another group. And it's kind of hard to explain that. So, in other words, let's just say it like this. I know in our city that there were so many training programs, for example, training programs that only people that were on SNAP could get. They weren't for everybody.
Yes.
Right.
But then you have to
certain
ask,
circumstances. Okay.
You have to ask, and you have to be in the loop. And sometimes knowing the right person to say, hey, we have a certain amount of money allocated towards something.
Right, budgeted. Yeah.
And they can tell you. So what they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Okay.
All
right.
what is that phrase? When a Rome do as the Romans do. But sometimes you got to walk the walk and talk the talk. So that includes you, going to council meetings. You know what I mean? Going to when they make decisions, especially the state, going to when they make decisions to allocate certain money to certain things, to have your cause ready, to have a group of people that are really ready to work on this cause. And that cause could be telling your politicians and your city in particular, and what the people need. But also when they, you know how people are with their money, you got to jump through a hoop and, do a whole bunch of stuff to prove. There's a lot of things that if you see the need, or a group of you see the need, then we need to really get used to trying to put some of these things together ourselves.
Without
without outside.
Because
help.
I think can I add to that real quick, Mommy?
Yes,
because I think that if we because I think that if we I think that if we I heard you, don't worry about it. So I think that if we add to that, if we build that momentum ourselves, and I don't want to, because we got to watch the things that we say on here, because that's why we roll that disclaimer by every once in a while, because we don't want anything to be, but I think that people need to see that momentum. And I have discussions with people around my area that have to do with the cleanliness of public spaces, parks, things like that. I know people that work for the city, things like that, and people are pulling back on budgets for things as simple as keeping an area by my house clean because people trash that area. Let's be real.
It's
Let's
true.
be honest.
It's true, Trey.
So
it's true.
So and I see that me and Wayne, honestly, we get on the same bus going home from work. That's how I met him in the first place. Get on the same bus trying to make our way to work, as opposed to maybe those that aren't. No judging, no judgment zone, but at the same time, I can go off what I see, which is a lot of chaos, a lot of mess, a lot of trash, a lot of
Exactly.
So when people that look like us, the majority, not all, get resources, get things of importance, or just get things handed to us, given to us, or whatever it may be. We have things that are tangible. A lot of us don't treat those tangible spaces very well.
Absolutely.
So it's
true.
That's the issue for real. So we can't. A lot of these places are afraid. Number one, let's let that ring for a second. They're afraid to invest. They're afraid to help. They're afraid to go out there and advocate and do what we're doing on camera, online, whatever. But they're afraid to do that because we aren't treating our own spaces well. We aren't treating our own people well.
Oh yeah.
So it makes it harder.
We don't talk about. That's the part we really don't talk about. Now, one bad apple spoiled a whole bunch sometimes.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like, we know that's, people tend to say not all, some of us, but we know that is a real big problem. I agree with you 1,000%. That's a big problem. Why would I give you my money to mess something up? Now, the example I give to you all the time, I think. And I said the professor, Grand Queen, recently, why, people need to be very honest. They know that they're not going to spend $200 million on a home when you have certain elements and certain activities going on outside. I don't care. That's a hill that I will die on. Okay, that makes it very hard. So some of us know that we wouldn't do it. I'm like, be honest. I'll talk to Kevin. Be honest. Are you gonna spend that kind of money to see certain elements? And we know what those elements are. I don't need to repeat those here. That kind of money, or when you see, I explained to you about some of the areas around here, where I live, they're guaranteeing, you see homes pop up and everything. They're guaranteeing them get it now, because that element will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I
And I
say
don't
all
want to
that
be an
to
element to
say,
be removed. That's one thing too. I don't want to be an element
well,
or someone that, people want to remove from an area.
let's just say, in some cases, some activities,
Yeah, I feel that.
some practices. That's probably would be a little better way of saying it. You
I feel
know,
that though.
some activities, some practices, the things that we know aren't really kosher for what we want. Now, the point I'm trying to make
Hmm.
is the same thing goes for when you want to get other resources
Right.
from the outside entities. You know,
So that makes
that makes
me
it
that that,
that makes
that
it
brings
very
up,
difficult.
yeah.
It does. Makes it difficult.
That brings up a question then, that I'm gonna turn over to Professor and then and let hand over the mic again. But I want to
Okay.
ask you guys. So what should we do with this being said? Because this is what I'm trying to get into with our people first. The people that look like
Mm-hmm.
me, dreadlocks and all, brown skin and all, whatever it may be,
Mm-hmm.
that look like me
Mm-hmm.
when I get off the bus, when I'm walking the streets of my area that I lay my head in, when
Mm-hmm.
we're not providing or not doing the most visual pleasing things in these spaces that are open, not in a house, not in a private. Anybody, you can do whatever you want inside your
In your
house,
house.
but
Yeah.
when you in public spaces, stores, grocery stores, these kids out here, stealing and grabbing up all they can from dollar stores and just to do it, not because you're hungry, not because just people are just reckless. So the question is, what do we need to do to attack those issues?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would love resource, I would love to work with people, but certain areas, people that I would work with, honestly, Professor, I wouldn't want to take like this, like the space that the community space up the street that I mentioned. I don't really want
Uh-huh.
to bring them to the area that I hang out because I know how
Mm-hmm.
those, I know how people get down in that area, and I'm not saying you are who you hang around necessarily, because you can be an individual. You can have the
Mm-hmm.
discernment to get out of, to leave an area and get away from it if things get a little
Mm-hmm.
too
Right.
out of hand. But what do we do about it? Because
Right.
that's what's ruining people from wanting to provide their resources, wanting to. They may be there. I walk past it all the time, didn't know it was there until someone else mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I didn't expect to see it, especially close to the area that needs it the most, to be honest. But what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's a question that I have for you, Professor, because we're talking about resources,
Well,
but how do we open up that space for people who want to?
um,
And thank you, Wayne, for the
well,
comments. I appreciate it.
absolutely,
Thank
absolutely.
you.
Uh, it's about actually, I as Shannon is, I'm sticking to my story. The connection, the
Yeah.
connection. I said it last Sunday. The web that we weave, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and how to attract in that connection and keep it. Because every connection is different and it's not weave. The spider, every web it weaves is different.
I feel
that
that.
that part, every web, no web is the
Mm-hmm.
same, so no connection is the same. And yes, I clearly understand, like, okay, we making these connections, why would they want to do anything for our community? To tell you
Mm-hmm.
the truth be told, I've worked with so many different organizations, I've seen it, I've had firsthand experiences with these people who do the research. They already have the research. They do the research.
Mm-hmm.
They live. They work. They
Hmm.
buy buildings. They have ongoing merchandise in the community. They have things happen in the community, stores in the community, because they have done the research and they don't mind spending the money, even if they start small with a 99-cent store. The 99-cent store is a huge franchise. Why aren't they in other areas? Why aren't they in the multi-million-dollar areas where those homes are? Because they've done the research and they know the mindset and the mind shift of the people. So my answer is to be able to understand the mind shift and teach people the mind shift. Everybody's not going to agree. Everybody, especially those people who are frequent flyers of the mess, frequent flyers of messing up the community, frequent flyers
Mm-hmm.
of bringing down the lower quality of life, frequent flyers of not improving the demographics in their areas. They're not even thinking
Hmm.
about picking up trash off the street. They're not even thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
They'd rather throw it down before they go to a receptacle, before they go to a garbage pail, which is sometimes right there in their face. And for example, here in New York, we've got these we have these mental health crisis centers. Actually, it's for drug addicted, and where they bring back the doctors and nurses are on board all day to bring back drug addicted people who overdose. And they are dropping these centers in the middle of multi-million-dollar property, multi-million-dollar communities. They're dropping them in. And in some communities like Staten Island, they ain't having it. Some communities upstate New York, they ain't having it. But in places like Harlem, they got it. And you see the dope fiends in them outside, needles and stuff in front of schools, all sorts of mayhem, because the same people who you think, or we may not think would give money to a cause like ours, they would do it in a heartbeat, because they don't mind. They're not thinking about the cost. They're thinking about the money. They're thinking about the accolades that it would bring them. They're thinking in terms of they're solving a issue that the drug addict will have. What is it, Narca? To bring them back, they Narcan to bring them back, and and they think that they are solving a problem, but they're not. They're solving the problem to supposedly help the drug addicted person to bring them back to life, but they are not changing the lifestyle. They're not helping the lifestyle change. There's no lifestyle change in that. That person is going to remain on drugs. You and I know that. We don't need to be a doctor. We don't have to be a doctor to know that, right? You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that. But however, you've got organizations who is funneling, who is putting in that money. They're making sure these centers are open. They're dropping them everywhere, and they don't really care. They are looking at the numbers and the money that the state and other sub agencies are bringing them. So in my mind, and in my experience, not my mind, smaller agencies, smaller, because the smaller the buildup. It's not the huge organization, it's the smaller ones that what the lead is and the impact. Exactly. Small radio stations, or what we think is small podcasts. In New York, believe it or not, there's only one mental health podcast in a hospital that's a part of the New York Health and Hospital. And I'm dropping names because they should be ashamed of themselves. It should be more hospitals with more mental health support, aside from the treatment, aside from the medical treatment, because talk therapy, aside from somebody calling you, psychiatrist, psychotherapy calling you, sometimes you need a group of people aside from Zoom. You need somebody who really has been there, who's going to be an ongoing mentor with you, somebody who's going to be one-on-one or collectively, somebody who really understands the vibes that you need to pass through. I'm just saying. And there's only one hospital that has a mental health podcast. However, I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping that JTI changes that, because I'm knocking on doors, knocking on heads. I'm just saying to change that. And my parents said, listen, if there's no solution there, make one. Yes. If there's no door, when you step to the wall and there's no opening, make one. What the military say? Make a hole.
I know that's right.
I'm just saying, we're here to make that. We're here to make that. And when we do that, then the mind will shift, the heart will shift, and everybody will become that collective. And they'll continue to make changes in that collective. And then the other people who've been, those frequent flyers will be like, hey, okay, we better do something, or just go away. Has to be another program for them to be a part of, so they can actually get well, instead of taking them through that vicious cycle, because it's a vicious cycle, and that's what brings down our communities. So we have to stop accepting that from these higher ups, from these organizations. Who would help the drug addict live through drug addiction? That is insane. So so that's my take. That's one of JTI's solutions.
It's very crazy, and I've had my ideas of where I have observed things, and this would sound very, very harsh. I may have just said it, I'm not sure, but nobody cares about the people that are directly affected by something. Nobody cares. As long as they can, I think certain problems in our community as long as it's contained, as long as anything is contained in one spot, you don't
And it
have to
doesn't
see
spill
it.
over into areas where,
Yeah,
yeah.
it doesn't exactly. It doesn't spill over into areas. We can keep you over there. We can monitor you to make sure nothing is going on. So ultimately, not spill over to certain areas and affect a certain area. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? They pull certain people out so they can kiss babies and shake hands when they need to say, look, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. But like you said, no problem is being solved. Nobody's going to care about you the way that you should care about yourself and your family and your community. They don't care. And certain people, let's say that certain people just don't care. As long as you're not bringing that madness over to where I am, then whatever. Nobody, it takes, again, it takes those that are directly affected. Maybe somebody that wasn't addict themselves and say, look, this is what I needed, and I didn't get it. This is what this is what I see is needed for other people because that's what I needed, and because I am directly, just for example, I have experienced it. I know what could possibly be needed because it has helped me.
Yeah, that's a solution.
We have to get out of our heads.
That's a solution.
That the state or the government is going to completely solve this problem. For one, they're about the dollar. They're always about the dollar.
The numbers, absolutely.
They're always about the numbers. It always, like the community service board, here in Virginia, in Alexandria, that was started by somebody that had a child that had an issue, and they just used their connections and build it and build it and build it. Started in the 50s.
Exactly.
When it was not, how mental health was kind of ignored and misunderstood and all that type of
stuff. At that time, especially, yeah.
But let me get back to this. Start planning and organizing the things that we need and we want, like we used to do, when we were more united and divided. And something else too, when segregation was going on, that's another example. We were band together because they were
absolutely
getting all of us.
Yeah,
you couldn't go in that bathroom just like I could not.
Absolutely,
I'm trying to protect my family like you're trying to protect your family. So we got together. We said something needs to be done. We need to have that same mindset.
Yeah.
With those resources that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, this is why you are the opulent one. What you saying is just straight up to the moon. Yeah. It's to the moon.
I'm telling you, I gotta say, that's what anything. Do you think that certain entities care about how many of our young folks are getting shot and killed?
Yeah.
Very true.
It's aired on the news and then it's gone.
Yeah, and the news sensationalizes everything too. They need a clamp on their mouth sometimes too, on their business sometimes, because they make it really worse.
Because it's newsworthy. They never put nothing on the news about somebody building a community center.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You're not gonna see that. You're
gonna see
why I feel
like you have to. Which is why I feel like you have to seek those things out more than because they're there. Those things exist. There are, like I said, I didn't realize the community building was there. Now, mind you, there was a lot of activity going on around that building. So some businesses were closing, becoming vacant. People were renting it out. So I just didn't realize it was there because it wasn't always, full of lights and a whole bunch of things. But I've seen some type of community, something there where women, it was 100% women in there dressed up nicely. It looked like they were having a nice banquet, or something. But I looked on the wall and they have like backpack drives and food pantry connections and stuff like that. So my point is, there's resources that exist. And Mom, when you mentioned, I would go run and get the car, but I don't feel like doing all that. I'll just show it on the next show. But there is a lady that
the next one.
Yeah, there is a lady, a black woman that I met on the bus too, Miss J. that helps with different resources, not only people that need food assistance and housing assistance, but like up to apprenticeships and resume help, like professional resume
Oh,
building
that
and helping,
works.
job fairs, things like that. But
Uh-huh.
there's resources
Yeah.
out there, but we have to get our people back to wanting it for themselves, like you said,
Yeah.
because
Shifting that
Absolutely.
mind. Absolutely.
yeah,
And
because
Yeah, shifting
if I
that
can
mind.
say,
Yeah,
if I
absolutely.
can
sure,
say something else, and I said, shoot, I'm trying to really hold my tongue and make sure I say it clearly and cleanly
yeah,
for the sake of our show.
yeah,
But
keep it clean, like a
keep
professor
it
said.
clean. But
Uh-huh.
sometimes
Absolutely.
when you're passionate about it, and then sometimes when we talk about that accountability and
Yeah.
responsibility, we have to hold our own folks accountable
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Absolutely.
Don't ruin
Yes, we
look,
Absolutely,
do.
Shannon.
don't ruin our only store we have here
Yeah.
Exactly.
in the community.
Exactly.
No,
Exactly.
And
we just so out of order.
Yeah,
actually, that's
yeah,
why the
yeah.
Safeway closed. That used to be up the street from me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I
Yeah.
mean. So when I
Yeah.
asked y'all that question
Mm.
about what can we do to stop, number one, the accountability. We say that all the
Yeah.
time.
And
Number one,
support. Yeah.
accountability and
Yeah.
support. But we got to stop supporting and being okay
Bad
with
behavior.
the
Bad
destruction
Bad
and the
behavior.
bad
behavior.
Yeah.
behavior,
Thank you.
Bad
because it
behavior.
ruins
Thank
the
you.
Uh-huh.
potential businesses that would want to come into
Yes.
the area. It
Absolutely.
Thank
ruins
you.
Black
Yeah.
support. It ruins people
Yeah.
want to come into the community and even open up,
Yeah.
their own business. I mean, you see,
Mhm.
not being funny, but you see the Asians and certain other cultures coming into the area because they know, they studied us. They know what we consume. They know what we're into.
Yeah.
They know what we
Yeah.
like. So certain foods or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But we are the only ones that don't really seem to be giving ourselves anything, and it's a risk. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to stop being a risk to interact with your own people and do business with your own
Uh-huh.
people without some type of something
Uh,
behind it.
how
I want
We
to
to
kill
got
the risk.
we
yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
about our business in everything
Exactly.
we
And to
do.
teach just
You know.
and those age and I gotta tell you, absolutely. Absolutely. And if I may, every culture that comes into our communities, yes, they have done the research trade, just like we all know they've done it extensively. What I don't like is that they take advantage of that and they charge us higher prices. They do. I've
Very
seen it.
true.
They
Oh
price
yeah.
gouge like immensely a lot. And if it's
Mhm.
not reported to your state attorney general, taking pictures, documenting those things, then that also brings in more mayhem into your community. And this is why, not to say it's an excuse. It's not an excuse for bad behavior. It's not an excuse for
Uh-huh.
thieving and robbing people day and night. And then the
Uh-huh.
retail, when you look, the store that just came up is closing and they having an out of whatever sale.
A
I'm just
blowout
saying,
sale or something like that. I
a
know what you
blowout
mean.
sale or whatever. You're like, wow, didn't they just get here? Why?
Hmm.
Because again, we all have to, as Shannon said, we all have to do our due diligence and work to secure and foster these connections with
Mhm.
additional with accountability. First of all, who's accountable? We get definitely we know who is accountable, and those people who never become accountable, they know they need to, but they
But
just
how do
haven't
we?
been spotted yet. It's just like somebody knows that there's something wrong. They know they're doing something wrong and they know the right thing to do, but they don't do it. They don't have the authority. So we need more
Mhm.
authorities to make those things happen. And one of the things, having have a crisis hotline, because all these things stem and is a lead to the crisis. I'm just saying, because you
Mhm.
got families going through, you got the great grands in them coming up, you got grands coming up because the grandparents are becoming younger, and
Mhm.
if the
Mm,
grandparents are younger, then the children is going to have other things happening with them that should have been addressed earlier on in life. So you got those issues from generation to generation, and that's another part of the before crisis. So it's time to head those things off.
but
So with that,
how do
you got to
we?
have a formula. There has to be a formula.
how do we get back though to seeing? And this is still
We
what I'm
can't
trying
get
to get
back.
into.
We can't go back. We
I'm
got to
talking
go
about.
forward.
There has to be a way to see ourselves as valuable, which is going to be the question, because we say these things, but we'll run to a Gucci bag, we'll run to a Louis Vuitton
And
bag,
that's just the
we'll run
most
to. But
inane
Mhm.
thing.
if I mention a Teflon bag, I bet y'all don't know what a Teflon is. That's a black
Yes,
bag.
I do.
But I mean, some
I
people know,
do.
and it's starting to ring
Yeah.
now. But
Yeah.
if I mention it to the average person, they don't know what some of these brands are. They know
Yeah.
nothing about them, But we run to other people and other brands, but we don't run our own. So when you said something about people, businesses trying to start in our community, we have to get back to a way of being able to trust our own, love our own, and I
Okay.
understand what limitations we have in today's time. All right, but we got to get back to that. There's no way because
Okay.
every other community does it.
Yeah.
So
And it's true because now you're talking about people have leveled up and they're able to authorize their name. They got their
people,
name on their product and things like that, whether they're black,
Uh-huh.
whether because now the communities are becoming you have mixed communities, as we mentioned, Asian,
mhm.
um, even the term black. I heard a few black people have a discrepancy with being uh, not being a black person, but they have a discrepancy with the name black because they're like, technically there's no such thing because
It's
we are
black.
not the color black. We are brown of so many different shades of color. So
Yeah.
now that's another issue. I'm just saying that's another show.
I feel
But
that.
what I'm saying is the interactions with authorities, being able to connect and have a voice with the police, for example,
Yeah,
being able to
Mhm.
connect and have a voice with the court system, because you got between the police and the court system, you got two corporations speaking to the corporation. All of them are just corporations. Police, the judges, the lawyers, they're all corporations. So once the people understand the language, then they can learn and determine the language, and all of that, whatever they've been taught from generation to generation, will change, and then they can speak. They can determine a language and speak their own language and make people become more aware and do something. This is how it happens,
I
and
just don't
and
see
I
us
heard
loving
somebody say
ourselves enough.
they gotta want first to love you, and then you gotta want to love on somebody else. If you don't love yourself, if somebody doesn't love themselves, how are they going to love somebody else? Maybe they don't even know how to love themselves, but they got
We
to
got to
love
figure out how
themselves.
to we got to figure out how to build some
Yeah,
trust back
figure it
in
out.
our communities because people don't.
And we
That's my
will.
problem because we don't. Nobody wants to start. Everybody's scared. Nobody wants to start a new business in a
We not.
and
Oh my
Not
God.
just
That's
stop
but
it.
another
we might
show.
not be, and that's
Mm-mm.
why I see. I mean, I know that
That's
we
another
probably aren't because
show.
we on
Not
platforms to actually
us.
speak on these things. But I'm talking about what I see when I get off the bus, when I'm walking home, when I'm driving, when I'm not. So we don't trust our own communities. We don't.
Well, I
We
tell you
not.
this. How
That's my
how about this
problem.
for homework? How about this for homework for all of us? Well, I believe I shared a hotline with you guys. Call Blackline. There's three more hotlines, but this one is the first one. Callblackline.com. And how about we do some research with them and give them a call and ask them, like, what are some of the things that they suggest? What are some of their insights? What are some of their hindsights and foresights that they have seen that has really progress? We can talk about this stuff that they know is a defeat, because some things is a defeat from the gate. And I always say, don't even trust it. If you don't trust
Yeah.
it from the gate, you should never bother. So
Well, some of
how
the
about this? We do this homework among ourselves. We get in contact with them and our local, because I'm sure there's some more hotlines going on in our communities. Because here in New York, we've got a hotline, not just 311. We got a mental health hotline, a mobile health crisis teams, and Shannon brought back to mind the history of our coming together, the history of the things that we've gone through mentally, socially, our social self, how we came together
Mhm.
during Dr. King's era and different ones, Angela Maya's era. It made me mindful of Lincoln Hospital. Lincoln Hospital used to be called the Negro Mental Health Hospital. Can you imagine? It used to be called the Negro Mental Health Hospital, and all that. And it was also that program was also established by an African American. It was an African American. It was the first African American mental health hospital in New York City, in the Bronx, should I say. I believe overall New York City, and then it changed to Lincoln Hospital, and it's come a long way, and it still has some work to do, but they've done a lot of work. They put down a lot of great footprints. So, this, I said that to say this: our people, we've come through diverse journeys, and we've got some more journeys to go through. And I just encourage us that there's some more people out there who's thinking and who has a heart like we do, like JTI. They're there, and maybe they know more about it than we do. And I just believe we're going to make that connection, and every connection is going to be different, and it's going to make a greater impact for our listeners and our viewers. And for those who are listening, share your story. Oh, I got one more story to share with you, if I may. At the church finger.
All right.
May I?
All right.
This story, it came to mind, Opulent One. You always trigger me to just think. You always stretch my brain. I love it. You and Trayvon, both of you always stretch my brain. You just make me just really go deep, like deep diving. My mom's mental health journey, because of the era that she lived in, she would have been like 80 something at this point. But I remember when I became an adult, she told me about, she began to share her mental health journey. She was deeply depressed. Now, this is for all the church folks out there. She was an evangelist. She was a deeply devout, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled. Anybody know anything about that? Holy Ghost filled, sanctified, amazing woman of God, amazing mom, amazing single mother, amazing. She was still married to my dad, but still living like a single mom, because he couldn't do his part because he was going through his own mental health journey, United States vet. But she told me one time that and when I was 5 years old, we was living in Harlem, and she said one night something told her to kill herself. That means she was suicidal. That means it wasn't the first time she thought about it. And at the time when I was 5 years old, I think about 5 or 6. At the time, she was like she was still 20 something. She was in her 20s. She said something told her to kill herself. So she said she went to the stove, and at the time, those anybody who was born in the 50s or whatever, they know those old stoves, those old gas stoves and things like that. She turned on the gas and she proceeded to stick her head in the oven. And she said she felt a hand stop her and told her, said, "Don't do that." Said, "Don't do that. You don't have to do this." And it kept telling her, "You don't have to do this." Now, I was in the house at that time. I was in the house, and she said she had stuffed the doors, because in our apartment, you could close the door and stuff like that, and lock the door and stuff like that. At the time, we were in those duplex apartments, which they now brownstones. We was in a brownstone, so those apartments were really beautifully different. But she stuffed the door with cloth so that it wouldn't harm me. But she said while her head was in that oven and she was inhaling the gas, she said something told her, "Don't do that. You don't have to do that." And she shared that story, and I believe she shared it because she was a preacher too, and I believe she shared her that experience too. I believe in a few of her messages. But she said that she shared that story with me. So I said that to say this, that sometimes the crisis is silent, especially with suicidal. When a person is suicidal, there's so many signs to it, but it's invisible. It's a silent killer, and it's invisible. And then it made me mindful of these things can also transfer to your children unknowingly. You understand? You don't know. It could come through when the mom is carrying a child. If the mom is unhappy with the dad or the situation, it can transfer. Is what I'm saying. And these things need
energy transfer is real.
Energy, yes, it's really real. Because I never wanted to experience harm in my children, but I did experience wanting to kill myself. I did. And that's what that was the yes, Trey. So that breaking point happened to me, and then that's when those two mental breakdowns I had happened. So I understand that you might just need a crisis hotline. I'm just saying. So this is why I said it behooves us just let everybody who's listening tonight do your homework. I'm going to give everybody this homework. Share this little assignment. Call blackline.com. CALL blackline.com. Call them, contact them, and get some information on some of the solutions that we can create, if it's none there, to make these things, to make accountability and support happen in our community for the Blackness to actually, or whatever it is we need to do for the community to collectively come together, for the colors of the rainbow to come together, shine and share, and take us from one place to another gracefully.
You said blackline.com it is, right?
Blackline is called Call Blackline. CALLBLACKLINE.com. Call blackline.com. And we're gonna come up with some solutions to these problems. And we thank everybody, Wayne and Dr. K, wherever you are.
Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Absolutely, Big Sister Margaret, Auntie Kim, Ariel, my grandbaby EJ. He's graduating this month. Smooches. He's graduating from kindergarten this month. Joey, Latoya, shout out to them. Victor, to my ride or die, I call her V. That's Joy, and everybody who's watching.
Did we mention Chef Alva?
Chef Alva, absolutely, Tootly, yes, Alva, and Asia Lee, my sweet niece, and my other niece Ashley, and my nephew Zeke, also putting it down, and my other niece Kiara. That's Kiara Kiki. She's also putting it down on the circuit, and Joe, of course, putting it down, Me TV, and more, and everybody who was passing through tonight, all the loved ones, all the friends, Lambada. That's Joshua. We love you, and Joshua's coming. He's going to be one of our guests from the Lambada. I believe I'm pronouncing it. I could be mispronouncing it, but they are supporters of Black young men, educating, creating opportunities for Black young men to become educated, to get a college education, and they're going to be coming on as one of our guests in the month of December and more. So, advocating and also becoming more accountable. That's their accountability piece. So, keep passing through, keep doing what you do, keep putting it down, keep advocating for good mental health, and thinking of those solutions. And we love you like no other, as God does. And think about it. Yes, we have been suppressed, but that's over. That's over. We have been suppressed, and the suppression is over based upon the voice that we share and shine in. Right? Love you, Trey. Love you, Opulent One.
Thank you.
Indeed. Love you too.
Absolutely.
Before we depart for tonight, I would like everybody to please give the Spratley family their thoughts and their prayers on the condition of one of our aunties. She's not doing too well. Pray for the screen for her.
Absolutely.
The Spratley family is actually my husband's family. My husband's mother's family. Pray for strength for her. Pray for strength for the children, the grandchildren of our auntie. I do not, and I'm not going to divulge details about the situation because of privacy.
Yes.
But they definitely need prayers for strength.
Absolutely. So we keep them in prayer.
Please keep them in prayer.
Absolutely. Yes, we keep them in prayer. And for anybody else, you can also request prayer, because we are always praying. We are always praying, because that's one of the keys to life. If you want some prayers to be put down, you can share it online. Just say, hey, just tag us in. Say, please tag this in prayer. All right. And we'll put it in prayer. We'll put it before our Father God, and he'll do the rest. He will, make a determination, because when we all agree on something, God comes along and he interprets it the way it needs to be and brings others to help advocate for us. So we pray for more comfort for the family, right? So again, we love you like no other, as God does. Yes, Trey, any shout outs, disclaimer.
Of course. Well, yeah. Of course, I want to hit y'all with the disclaimer before we get to wrapping this up. Everybody, as a friendly disclaimer, this information in this video is not intended nor implied to be substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content is to be considered as such. We are only mental health advocates that are here for you. We do not want you to be led astray by anything it is we say. We would not want you to obviously go against seeking out a medical professional. Everything we say, we mean and we stand on, but we want to deliver it in a way that heals you and does something for you. We intend to be that safety net here at Just Stop It. Just Stop It being our Sunday shows from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then I have, as a collective, have a show on Wednesdays called The Pit Stop from 7:30 to 8. That is the time for you to just kind of check in with us. Everybody's getting through the week. It's the middle of the week. We're trying to all wrap it up together. Some of us work the weekends like myself, so it kind of continues all throughout, but it's still my time to, kind of catch a breather. So that's when I want to encourage you guys to join us and catch our vibe and see what we're talking about. Don't be afraid to mention subjects and subject matter that you want to hear. So whether you reach out to us on the Just Stop It page, or your comment on YouTube, or whatever platform you see us on, regardless, if you inbox us on any of those platforms, we'd be happy to take suggestions on feedback, ways we can improve and do better overall. So whether you have tips on us visually, sound-wise, whatever, all the things we're concerned with that we're trying to wrap up, that's our main concern right now. So join us. Don't be afraid. We need y'all to be able to do what we do. So we wouldn't be able to do it without you. So.
Absolutely. We need you. We absolutely need you. And we appreciate all the input. We appreciate every ounce of support. We appreciate information, valid information. We appreciate it's about the impact and the outcome of our lives, right? So here we are. Come back with us at the pit stop. Woo, thank God for our mental health check-ins. I can't hardly wait. That part.
7:30 to 8.
Woo,
every Wednesday.
One of my friends said, woo, child, please come back. You will be glad you did on by midweek, by hump day. Child, you'll need it. You'll need a check-in.
That's right, dog.
All right now, family. In a while.
In a while, y'all.
Absolutely.
All right. Good night, Mommy. Peace. All right, y'all. Y'all already know how to do, how we do. Tune in Wednesday, 7:30 to 8.
No other, and they're never in real time. There's no conversation of stability with them. There's no stability and no conversation. So when I realized, and too, Shannon, I love the other comment. I have to say, when you talked about, you used the example. I love your examples used with Trayvon when the narcissist in the situation say, "Oh yeah, Trayvon's wallet was missing." Say, "Oh no," that scenario. That's how they are. They always try to make it seem like you are the problem when they are the problem, and they are also their own problem.
Yeah. Right.
And when you begin to recognize, when the victim begins to recognize that they do not have to be victimized anymore, and that the mask off. Now that part, to be able to take the mask off of a narcissist is really, you got to be fortified. You got to have support. You got to have proof. You got to have also,
you got to be ready for that backlash.
For that. It is. Because the backlash is wicked. The backlash. Just a friendly disclaimer, we're not a medical advice. We do not subscribe to medical advice. We are sharing information to enhance your life, to enhance your mental health. And again, this is just a friendly disclaimer. Anything concerning our videos is not intended for a medical professional. It does not replace any medical professional advice. Please seek your medical professional team for anything concerning your mental health, physical health. Again, we are here for you.